Today I'm going to tell you a story about how two struggling web developers down in Cork almost packed it all in, and then just a few years later, here today, are running a $12 million a year SaaS business. Let's get on. So who am I and why should care? My name is Peter Coppinger. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a little company in Cork called teamwork.com. I don't know how many of you have heard of us. Someone told us yesterday we're the biggest indigenous SaaS company in Ireland. It's pretty cool. If you've never heard of us, we make 3 products. Teamwork Projects is our flagship product, and it helps you run your company. Teamwork Desk is similar to Zendesk. It's your support system, but it integrates with Teamwork Projects beautifully. And our third product is Teamwork Chat, which is Slack on steroids, and it's completely free. But I'm not here today. Our products are used by over 22,000 companies all around the world, including some of the biggest names in the world. But I'm not here today to convince you to use their software, but please check it out. Instead, and I'm not here today to brag, because frankly, we have a long way to go. Instead, I'm actually here to kind of do something completely different. I actually have a confession for you all. I am a terrible CEO. And I'm a terrible CEO because I freaking love programming. And over the last 8 years or so as we run the business, we have made just about every mistake in the book, mostly because myself and my co-founder have concentrated on programming and feature development to the exclusion of everything else. So today I'm going to tell you our story in 3 parts, how we got it started and so on, and hopefully you can learn some of the lessons about all the mistakes we made along the way, and you can avoid making the same mistakes yourself. And sorry, I'm going a bit fast now because I'm conscious that we've lunch here and I don't want to hold anyone up. We're running a bit behind schedule. So part 1 of our story, the hamster years. Back in 1999, we started a web design agency called Digital Crew down in Cork. And we thought back then that $3,000 for a website was insane, and that we could make maybe 4 websites a week and crank them out and make millions. We quickly learned that you can't, and we didn't. And fast forward a few years, we had transitioned to become a web application development agency, and we'd made hundreds of projects for clients like Pfizer and Lilly. But we kind of felt like this hamster. We were working hard and getting nowhere. And for some reason, we were also broke. So we'd actually tried a couple of little products along the way. We tried this thing called CF Tag Store, where we made software components for developers. And over the course of about 5 years, we made maybe 100,000, but looking back now, it was just a silly distraction. Another thing we had tried, we'd made a bit of software for a local college, and with their help, we spun it into a product. And for years, I hauled my ass all over Europe trying to sell this kind of enterprise software to customers. And what I learned is that enterprise sales sucks. And we spun out that company, and I'm glad to have got out of it. But our web design agency was going really well, but we were just not making any money. And one of my co-founders, Cormac, one day decided that he had enough. And he turned to myself and Dan, he said, guys, I can't do it anymore. And he said, I'm going to move into Australia. And it was then that myself and my co-founder, Dan, took a good hard look at the business. And we were kind of depressed. We said, Ted, going to give it 12 more months, or I'm going to pack this all in. I'm going to go get a real job. So with nothing to lose, in January 2007, we decided to double our prices overnight. And we also decided that we weren't going to do all these little extras that we always did for our customers anymore for free. So instantly, we doubled the prices, we started charging for all the extras, and here's the amazing thing. None of our customers complained. So we started actually turning our consultancy business around, and things started to actually kind of improve, but we still were kind of in the consultancy business, which sucks. But we realized that our next biggest problem was that we were just a complete disorganized mess, and we needed to get organized. So we realized that this whiteboard that we had in the corner of the office that we had all our projects on and tasks and invoices and everything else was not an efficient way to run your business. And I know everybody says this, but we really did make teamwork projects to scratch our own itch. Here's what happened. So we had heard of, I won't mention them, but a leading online project management system back in the day, and we tried to use it to run our consultancy for a few weeks. And after a few weeks of using this market-leading product, we were kind of shocked to find out that back then you couldn't put a due date on a task, you couldn't put a start date on a task, you couldn't attach files to a task, and you couldn't set priorities. And we couldn't understand how this leading software that was making millions out there, that we thought was pretty terrible, was making so much money. We felt we were making better products than this every day of the week, and we just could not see how you could use this software to run your business. But the straw that broke the camel's back was when I emailed that company one day and I asked if and when they might consider releasing due dates on tasks. And the response I got back was so curt, rude, and dismissive that it pissed me off. And I remember staying up all night thinking about it, and in the morning I came into work and I said to my co-founder Dan, Ted, because we call each other Ted for some reason, I said, I think there's an opportunity here. I think there's a gap in the market. I think we could make something amazing and maybe actually treat our customers with respect. And he said, Ted, I've been thinking the exact same thing. And that was the extent of our market research. So I'll skip through the key takeaways pretty quick because for time. Consultancy sucks. Get out of it. Don't target a small market. Don't sell software components to developers. For the love of God, we're miserable. Consultancy ware is no fun to build, and it's definitely no fun to sell. Don't do it. And treat your customers with respect and maybe listen to their suggestions. And you won't get upstarts like us. And sometimes you just got to go with your gut, right? Part 2, if you build it, they will come. So finding the time to work on the product was horrible because we were still running this consultancy business. And after months of having the idea, we had got absolutely nowhere. And we finally decided, we sat down and decided that if we were ever going to get this off the ground, we were going to have to dedicate one day a week to working exclusively on our project and nothing else. So we did the consultancy work Monday to Friday, and then no matter how much pressure was on or how backlogged we were or how loud the customers were screaming, we worked on teamwork all day and all night on Friday, and sometimes all weekend too. And slowly over the course of a few months it came together. In terms of designing the product, we did everything wrong. The first thing we did was we opened our text editors and we started hacking. We did no design, we did no sketching, we didn't mock it up, we just got stuck right in. I think the only thing that saved us was that our years of experience building hundreds of projects for other people. So don't do that. Something we did right is that we actually used, almost from day one, we started using our own product to run our consultancy. So this helped us get rid of all the rough edges in the product, and it's one of the reasons we continue to use our own products every single day. It's one of the reasons our suite of products are so strong. So it came time to pick a domain name for our product. And for some bizarre reason, we decided to go with teamworkpm.net, which is the worst domain name in the history of product domain names in the world. What were we thinking? Captain Hindsight says we should just call it getteamwork.com. But then in October 4th, 2007, we launched teamworkpm.net to absolutely zero fanfare at 9 p.m. We gave each other a high five and we went home. So we didn't put up a launch page, we didn't solicit any feedback, we didn't tell anyone we were building this, we didn't get emails, we didn't send out mail lists, we did absolutely no PR or marketing, we didn't contact any journalists, we simply put it up there. It was the worst product launch in the history of product launches. And looking back now, why did we do this? I think it's because we were perfectionist developers, and we never felt our product was quite where we wanted it to be. We were just too ashamed of our version 1. But it did do the job after all, and looking back now, this is a huge mistake I encourage you all not to make. Another huge mistake we made when we put the website up there, if you see it, we said project management made easy. So project management made easy means absolutely nothing. There has to be something about your product to make it stand out in the marketplace. It would have been better if we had said simple project management for creative agencies or something along these lines. So now, after we launched the product, we then had to go back to real work, and it was just, we had no money, we had to do the real work. For years, we just had to pump out the menial websites, but we kept tipping away at teamworkpm.net. It was our passion, it was all our hopes and dreams and aspirations wrapped up into thousands of lines of code. It was still just myself and Dan, my co-founder, hacking away on this product day and night. And marketing. We did absolutely no marketing. It was just because it was a skill that was outside our comfort zone. We just kept working on features and product development to the exclusion of almost everything else. The only things we did do right, from almost day one, we set up a referral scheme, which allowed people to get a bit of money for referring us, which is a very simple kind of developer-led thing to do. We made an importer for our biggest nameless competitor, which allowed you just put in their credentials and it sucked in all the tasks into our product. And in the long term, that's worked out really well. And the third thing we did that we highly recommend is that from day one, we published a monthly newsletter that just told our 10, 20, 30 clients and so on what we were working on. So that's our engineering and marketing. So we did only 3 things right. We built a great product. We treated our customers like honored guests. And every time we got an amazing suggestion, sometimes it was something simple, we often implemented it in a matter of hours and blew them away and made them a loyal customer for life. So we rode the long SaaS ramp of death for 3 years. In our first month, when we released this product, somehow, amazingly, despite being listed deeply in the bowels of Google, somehow somebody somewhere found us. And in our first month, we magically made $191. It could have been my mother or something, I don't know. So this is our chart. You can see it was a very slow growth. We had our consultancy business to pay the bills, thankfully, or we would have got nowhere. But we rode this long, slow SaaS ramp of debt for 50 months until we finally hit our magic number, 300,000 in sales. We had decided that 30,000 MRR was the number we needed to reach to be able to finally get rid of our web development agency. Because we had an office to pay for, we had a couple of other staff that were working on the web design business and so on. So once we finally hit 30,000 MRR, we were able to as we scaled to 30,000 MRR, we were able to dedicate 2 days a week to working on the product, 3 days a week to working on the product, 4 days a week to working on the product. And eventually it got to the point where all this website development work that we were doing for a lot of big companies in Ireland like Pfizer and Lilly and the Bond Secures and so on, it was just a thorn in our side. So eventually, we found a great company. We put our website up for sale. The price was, just don't drop the ball. Just look after our customers and all the relationships we've built up over the years. And thankfully, we found an amazing company in Cork that we gifted them our entire book of clients and they did an amazing job with it. And finally, we were able to knuckle down and concentrate on our products. Little side note here on self-funding, it genuinely never, I've often been asked this, why didn't we just take money? It genuinely never occurred, perhaps we were naive, to myself and my co-founder Dan to actually go looking for money for this. I don't think anybody, if we had said we're building yet another project management system, would have given us money anyway, right? But here's the thing. It kind of annoys me nowadays, this is just my little rant I have to get over, right? That there's so many software companies, developer-led software companies in particular, that think they need money to get off the ground. Because here's the thing, it has never, ever in the history of mankind been cheaper to make software. Our first servers cost us $20,000 a year, plus like $5,000 a month hosting. Today you can get that with AWS for less than $100 a month. So only take money. There are definitely times to take money. I feel personally you should only do it if you're in a land grab situation, or if it's a moon, if you're shooting for the moon. And it may not work. Little side story I want to tell you about as well is we had decided that we needed dedicated hosting back in the day. This led to what I call Hell Night in August 2012. So Teamwork was starting to do kind of well. It was 30,000 MRR. It was about 2 a.m. I typically work late. I was just about to turn in for the night when I went to load teamwork.com, or teamworkpm.net back then. And suddenly I realized that everything was down. I hit refresh 20 times and it just wasn't working. Panic set in. It was horrible. I tried ringing my co-founder, the phone was ringing out. I tried ringing the other workers, the phones were ringing out. We had no kind of pager duties system back then. So I tried ringing the hosting company. I noticed that other websites with the hosting company, and now this was a huge hosting company on the east coast of the United States that I won't shame today, but they completely left us down. Even our account rep, whose cell phone I had, just wouldn't answer, and it was horrible. I sat there all night, completely helpless, hitting F5, and just responding to our thousands of customers on Twitter, and I was like reduced to nearly tears, And in the morning, finally, Dan, my co-founder, came online, and finally it came back online, and we vowed never again. And slowly, over the course of a couple of months, we moved to AWS, and it's been a great decision for us. So anyway, we rode the long, slow SaaS ramp of debt for 50 months until we finally hit $89,927, 50 months after launch. I can't remember the date, but it was a very long, slow process getting there. And I remember I actually gave a talk here back then, so it's kind of come full circle. Here we are a few years later, doing 14x what we were doing back then. So that's part 2, some key takeaways. There's never a better time to start working on your product than right now. If there's any of you thinking about getting a product off the ground, just do it. Just go for it. And make time. Start with research and design. Don't launch into the code like we did. That was a bit of a disaster. Launch it right. Don't do what we did. That was just terrible. Positioning. There has to be something about your product or how you get the messaging out about your product that makes you stand out in the market. Today, we kind of realize that creative agencies and marketing agencies and web design agencies are our core market, and we're very focused on addressing them. And fire your day job and go all in ASAP. And eat your own dog food. And don't take funding for the love of God. So moving on, part 3. So growing up as a company. So we had a hockey stick event in the evolution of teamworkpm.net, and you can probably guess what it is. Of course, it's when we bought teamwork.com. So here's the backstory. So we always knew that we wanted to buy teamwork.com. And years ago, Dan, my co-founder, had reached out to the guy, so you can look up who owns the domain, and this guy, Alec, owned the domain. And we asked if he would be interested in selling it, and this is the response we got back. 2007 or 2008, I never heard of you, blah, 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 here's the link. So we clicked the link, and we were sent to this. And holy shit, Insure.com had just gone for $16 million. So this is the kind of price range this guy was looking for. And what was it? Beer.com for 7 million, porno.com for 8, fun.com for 9, China.com for nearly 12, sex.com for 13 million. So yeah, we realized it was a bit out of our league. So a few years later, we emailed him again, got this fairly curt, rude, dismissive reply back. We already discussed the matter, see attached. So I was like, screw this guy. And we tried again. So one night, about a year later, maybe 2010 or something, I offered him 50,000. I thought, this is it. This guy's going to go for 50,000. And I got back this pretty curt, rude message. Same lowball offer, no thanks. So I was actually in the pub, I think it was 2013, and I think my girlfriend had gone to the toilet or something, and I was just sitting there waiting, and I don't know why it popped into my head, but I just sent him the offer of 50,000. He said, same lowball offer, no thanks. And I was fairly annoyed now, so I said, please make me a counter offer. To which he replied, out of the blue, I'd consider 675,000. And lads, I nearly wet myself. I was thinking that this guy must be in a pub somewhere else in the world, and he's just made a huge mistake. I was like, how do I seal the deal here? So I immediately accepted. And I said I'd follow up in the days to come. And then I had the task of going to my co-founder, Dan, and my CFO, Billy. And you got to remember now that we had just hit 30,000, we were just doing about 1 million a year in revenue. And we had just about $675,000 in the bank. And I came into work in the morning and I said, guys, I think we should buy teamwork.com for $675,000. I think he might go for it. Little did they know I'd already said yes. And I remember we had this like huge debate in the office, and the guys were saying things like, let's hold off a while, wait till we're bigger, it's a lot of money, it's all our cash reserves. And I was saying, guys, we actually, I kind of gave what I call my Martin Luther King speech. I was like, guys, I know about you guys, but we only live once. This might be the only opportunity we ever get to do this. I said, the last thing I want is to be, 60 years' time in our deathbed thinking about the opportunity that got away. It's only money, we can make more money, but this could be the opportunity that changes everything. It was just pure gut feeling. And with that, my co-founder looked me in the eye and he said, let's do it. So we bought the domain name. Huge gamble. I remember we got a lot of abuse in the Irish kind of tech press, and these guys down in Cork are insane. They don't know what they're doing. They just spent €500,000 on a domain name. But did it work for us? Let's find out. If you see this, I even pretended I had a board. But we were offering to suggest 675. I debated it with my board here, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, did it work? Did it make a difference? I think you all know the answer. Hell yeah. So this could be in the wrong place. Boom. You can clearly see the inflection point from where we launched teamwork.com. So we would have continued probably, to be less than half of where we are today. And why did it work? I think it's because teamwork.com, being a one-word domain name, gave us instant credibility with journalists and just even with other developers, or even if there's two guys sitting in a bar and they say, we use something called teamwork.com, it's amazing, you should check it out. They're going to remember that, right? They're not going to remember teamworkpm.net. Holy shit. And because it kind of makes us own the word teamwork. It's also kind of given us a brand identity now. Instead of us having just one product underneath it, we were able to kind of decide that we could actually have a huge brand here, and we could build a suite of several products that all work together that do something magical that no one else has done. That's kind of where we're going. So yeah, next thing in the evolution of the company, a bit of an embarrassing story. So we were just developers still. We had no marketing agency. We had no HR person. We were still just kind of struggling our way through it. And we were still kind of concentrating on features to the exclusion of almost everything else. A little embarrassing story is when I decided that we were going to build our second product, I couldn't wait to get stuck in. I actually went with my girlfriend to New York for 6 months, put my head down, worked night and day on building this new product. And after 6 months, I stuck my head up and I realized, yes, we have a beautiful new product and a cutting-edge framework for the future, but our company is a complete mess back in Ireland. We hadn't hired a single person while I was gone. Nobody in the company could have told you what our vision for the company was, where we're going, what our dreams are. We'd no values written. It was just, we were just pumping out software. And I had this kind of epiphany moment one day when I realized that all our problems with process, with procedure, with hiring and everything, with not hiring, that it's all actually my job. I wasn't actually being the CEO, I was just being the developer. So if I can just get one message across, if there's some guys in here developing a product, don't just be a developer. You got to stick your head up out of the programming sand every now and again and take a good hard look at your company. So I started to fix a couple of things in the company. First thing we had to fix was we hated meetings, but we started doing quarterly meetings, and they've been transformational for our company. They've been the kind of life force of the company, the pulse of the company. So we started having quarterly meetings where we get together outside the office just 4 times a year, and we talk about what are our top 5 problems in the company we need to fix. And it's that simple, and I highly recommend it. Next thing I fixed was setting the vision for the company. I spent a lot of time thinking about the company we want to be and how big it's going to be and how we're going to get there and how am I going to communicate this to everyone. And I remember actually being very nervous sharing this vision with my co-founder. But he loved it, and today we have a very strong vision where we're going with the product, and we've communicated that to all our staff. And it's so critical to get everyone to buy into this vision. Next thing we decided to fix was not hiring deliberately. So our hiring process was basically, we would stumble across a person, and if we liked them, we offered them a job. That was it. There was no kind of thinking about in 3 months' time we're going to need a video person or maybe 3 more support people or we're going to need a HR person. There was no strategy there, so we started fixing that. Sculpting your culture. Culture is something that happens in every company, whether you decide to just let it happen or sculpt it. We, for a long time, let it happen. And when we looked at our culture, we realized we had a kind of very developer-centric company where I think anyone who wasn't a developer was kind of almost treated like a second-class citizen. So we've decided to fix that, and we've been very deliberate about fixing our culture in the company and putting a lot of processes in place, like encouraging staff that don't know each other to lunch together, paying for their lunches for free, having company events, we just had an amazing hackathon, things like that, and started telling people about the type of company we want to be and taking good ideas from anywhere. And I think we've really transformed the company in the last 2 years. We even set up a handbook with a page that says, "Don't be a dick." And our number 1 golden rule is never argue. And this comes from like the 10 years we've been in business now. Never argue over chat, IM, SMS, anything like that. If you have a problem with a person, talk to them on Skype, talk to them face to face if you can. Next mistake is, as I said, we had no marketing team for a long time. We finally put our marketing team together. I don't know why we didn't do this for so long, but today we have a really strong, beautiful, amazing marketing team, and we're pumping it out, and we're doing an amazing thing. Next thing, we always said we don't need salespeople. I don't know where this came from. I don't know why we thought we don't need salespeople, because one day out of the blue, Walt Disney contacted us, and they said, "We love your product. We've been using you in stealth for 2 years." And we went, "Holy shit." And they wanted an enterprise version of our product. We didn't have the salespeople to help them set that up. So Disney became our first enterprise sales customer. After that, we decided to set up a sales team, and it's been brilliant for us. We've only 3 people right now, but next year we're hoping to really scale this up. Process pains, I realized that all the problems in the company were because as we were growing to 70 people, not everyone's in the same room anymore, and all these things that just kind of happened magically before when we were all in the same office don't happen. People don't know what's happening upstairs, people don't know what's happening downstairs, and I realized that it's kind of my job to help define the process in the company, the communication process, how we choose features, how we let each other know what's going on. I have 48 seconds here, I'm going to scream on. An important realization was, for me personally, was that the CEO doesn't have all the answers, and you don't have to have all the answers, and it's okay to lean on your people. And it's very important to learn to trust others and let go. Because as a developer CEO, that's something I've personally struggled with, but I'm finally getting there. That's about it. Going to skip over this. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you'll just learn from our lessons and skip making some of them along the way. And if I can sum up in one go, which isn't working, to grow faster, stop programming, and be the bloody CEO. Thank you.